Welcome into the Hops and Spirits Kentucky podcast. That's right, the Q&A has a new name. Just a slight rebrand to make it a little more focused on what we actually do. We're still talking food, drinks, art, fun in Kentucky, and maybe slightly beyond. But the Q&A will now be kind of what our main conversation is. If you've ever listened to our bar conversations, you kind of know how we do the tasting notes and then the conversation. That's what we'll be doing here, but instead of the tasting notes, we'll do news and notes in Kentucky on all those realms relating to the alcohol world, and then we'll have our Q&A with our guest. So what's happening this week in the world of alcohol here in Kentucky? Well, World of Beer closed at the Summit at Fritz Farm in Lexington. It opened in 2017. It was known for serving local, regional, and nationwide craft beers. Also, Poor Decisions, especially cocktail bar located in downtown Lexington, has closed, although the owner said they are looking for a new location. But for those in Lexington, don't worry, it's not all bad news. This Saturday, Mirror Twin Brewing is hosting Hazelpalooza 2022 as they're dropping 6 different variants of New England IPAs. As my wife lovingly refers to those as NEPAs. You can get more information on all those on their social media. And for those that maybe love something a little more strong, Copper and Kings has released its first ever bourbon. And through the summer months, distillery guests can get a taste exclusively on its barrel-to-bottle experience, which costs about $35 for the tour and $65 for the hand-filled bottle of whiskey. And for you Buffalo Trace lovers out there, they announced plans to create a new tourism and dining destination that is scheduled to open in 2023. The new venue will be constructed where the BP gas station is currently, where you go into the distillery. They own that property. Gas operations will end in August, and groundbreaking will be held this fall. Well, let's not waste any more time. And up next is our Q&A with Mark Wombles, owner, chef at Heirloom in Midway and Distilled on Jefferson in Lexington. Enjoy.
Remember to check out Hops and Spirits on social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find Hops and Spirits on YouTube and at hopspirits.com.
Joining us here for the Q&A, he's the owner chef at Heirloom in Midway and Distilled on Jefferson in Lexington, Mark Wombles. Mark, welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And I said it right, correct? Did I get your last name right?
Wombles, you got it right on the first time.
Well, I was a little worried. How often does that get mispronounced?
Well, just to give you an idea, I mean, I have to spell it pretty much everywhere I go, doctor's appointment, get my car worked on pretty much everywhere. So it's not a name that you hear that much in the States. I think in England, Wales, it's a name that you hear very often. But here in Kentucky and the States, you don't hear it very often. However, there is one more Mark Wombles in town here, believe it or not, which is
of course
completely odd, and it's not false identity or fake identity. There really is another Mark Wombles. So.
well, can you tell us about you, this Mark Wombles, a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, let's see. I'll just go back to the very start. I was born in Florida, Winter Park, Florida, and lived down there till I was about 5. My parents moved up here to Lexington, went to Sayre School, and then Dunbar for high school. Had a very short stint at UK, and I like to party a little bit, and that was why it was a short stint. And got a job at Merrick Inn as prep cook. That was back in 96. I did actually before that lived in Colorado and snowboarded for a couple of years in between. And so anyway, I worked at Merrick Inn, first job. And that's when I probably figured out that, hey, I might have a future, in the culinary arts. And shortly thereafter, went to culinary school in San Francisco. That was right around 1998. Lived out there till about 2001 in San Francisco. Went to California Culinary Academy. And came back, worked the circuit in Lexington, a few different spots. And opened Heirloom in 2006. So that's where it all started,
Well, and you're everything's kind of grown for you. Like I said, you're owner chef of 2 different restaurants right now. What are your roles there these days? Are you still in the kitchen? Are you still getting, in there with everyone, or is it a little more on the business side?
It's definitely more business heavy right now. Managing people is a very hard task to do sometimes, but it's a big challenge. When I was in the kitchen all the time, I felt that to be kind of easier than managing people, believe it or not. But nowadays, there's not a day that I'm not in the kitchen really doing something, you know. So I'll kind of float back and forth between the restaurants, Heirloom during the day, Distilled at night right now. But I'm kind of all over the place, you know, front of the house, back of the house, just kind of the whole gamut.
Well, you got the big title, so you get to do it all, right?
Yeah, wash dishes, you name it. So
Now, I was reading when I think you were growing up, you were never a picky eater. Your mom and your parents had a garden, so you always kind of had fresh vegetables. Is that kind of maybe where all of your love for food started? I mean, it seems like you might have been destined for this.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I was exposed to a lot of different foods when I was young. My mom and dad did have a very large garden, which had pretty much everything in it. I mean, you name it, they had it pretty much. And that went on for most of my youth. I think as I got older, I don't think they did the garden as much because it is a lot of work, you know, so they just kind of grew out of it. But I mean, I do remember at a young age, my mom would expose me to a lot of different foods. You know, I think at age 5, I was eating, you know, like shrimp cocktail, which a lot of kids probably wouldn't be eating that at,
No.
at age 5, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think I've always been into food, and nowadays it's kind of expanded to health, you know. So I'm kind of like a more, you know, healthy eater these days. I really watch what I eat. You know, a lot of fish, lean meats, you know, vegetables, that sort of thing. So I try to, you know, stay in shape and eat well, you know.
Well, and you know, you mentioned it kind of when you were talking about just giving a background on yourself. American is kind of where things may have jumped off for you in the culinary world. Is that exactly kind of where when you knew you wanted to maybe be a chef, or was it just more, hey, I might want to work in the kitchen and see where that goes, or how did that process
No,
work for you?
that is where it took off. Because I had a friend that went to culinary school, and it sounded, you know, exciting, intriguing, and but I didn't know if I could do it. You know, I was like, man, it sounds like hell in the kitchen, you know? Which I mean, in all honesty, it really is. But you know, at the time, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be cut out for this, but I'll give it a try and just see what happens. And turns out I was really fast at prepping, really fast at doing stuff. So that helped out a lot. And I realized, hey, I might have a future in this. You know, went to culinary school out in San Francisco, and out there, I got to see everything. You know, it's a great spot to live and go to school. And you know, you have great restaurants out there, wine, produce. You know, you have everything out there. So
I was going to say, what was it like going out there? And did you look anywhere else, or was California kind of where you knew you wanted to go?
yeah, we looked at Hyde Park, CIA, Culinary Institute of America, but I'm not really like a winter person, so to speak. So up there, you know, it's upstate New York. It's cold. It's you know, I thought, well, California, you know, ocean, beach, you know, I mean, it's a little bit more my lifestyle, what I wanted to do, and you know, all the food that's out there, it's amazing. You know, seafood and everything. So that's what kind of pushed me out there, and I wanted a different experience. I wanted to go out to the West Coast and experience that. You know, being born on the East Coast, so
Expand your horizons, right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Now, you know, you're also able to kind of do that. I feel like when you come through, you kind of said you hit the circuit in Lexington, I think even up in Cincinnati. What was it like working in different kitchens and just gaining some different knowledge and being able to maybe even use some of that to this day?
Well, I think really, I mean, everyone I've worked for, every cook I've been around, I've learned something from, and I still try to this day. And I think that's what's made me become a better chef at age 46. Is just every single person I've tried to hire talent, and I think that being around talent that much, you know, you're only as good as who you're around.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I've definitely learned a lot, you know, good and bad, from people I'm around. You know, like, hey, I don't ever want to do that, or you know, gosh, this is great the way he did this. You know, how can I expand on that? You know, and I think being around a lot of different personalities has helped me, you know, to know people and how to manage people a little bit better.
Well, and then as you mentioned, early 2000s, you launched Heirloom and Midway. What pushed you to go the route of opening your own restaurant, and why did you want to do that?
My father, actually, he actually came across a building in Midway that was for sale. And I want to say at the time it's like advertised as 1,800 square foot or something like that. So I was like, Dad, there's no way it's not big enough for a restaurant, you know. And he's like, oh no, it's perfect size. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, and he pulled the trigger on it. And we opened it up, knocked some walls down. It turned out to be a little bit bigger than we thought. I think it's right around 2,000 square foot. And we were able to, you know, have the dining room and kitchen the size we wanted. We still struggle for space out there a little bit, but I mean, for the most part, it's, in my opinion, a perfect size. You know, it's not too big. Something's lost when a restaurant's too big, and you know, you've got to have a certain size to, you know, make a profit. So I think really it's perfect size, very efficient, I should say.
Well, it allows you to have character and kind of use the space to, you know, bring some uniqueness in it. And, you know, the name Heirloom, what drew you to that, and why did you settle on that for the restaurant?
Okay, well, since we were going to open a restaurant in Midway, there's a lot of antique stores out there. So that's where I came up with the Heirloom. And then I have a fascination with, you know, produce, heirloom tomatoes, anything heirloom. So it kind of, in my eyes, it kind of tied together pretty nicely.
And you had no other names. It was just, you know, that kind of just rose to the top as you were checking out.
No. I did actually have a lot of other names. I'm not going to tell you because they were just horrendously stupid. And looking back on them, I was like, gosh, you know, what if I'd named it that? I probably would have been out of business in 3 months just because of the name. It's just so stupid. But when I hit that one, I think I pretty much just nailed it. And there was no turning back. I was like, okay, that's the name, you know.
And, you know, when folks get to go out there and get to enjoy it, what can they expect when they get to sit down at Heirloom?
Well, we pride ourselves on having a high quality experience, you know, from the service to food. Everything's fresh, you know, made in house, unique. You know, we don't want you to go and have a steak and potato or, you know, something just totally run of the mill. It's got to be, you know, unique, creative, and something that you're probably not going to find around this area. That's what we strive for.
And, you know, for those that may not know, you know, yes, the podcast focuses on Kentucky, but they may not have know where Midway is. It's actually got a pretty good restaurant, you know, scene there. What's it like being part of kind of a really small town, but that just loves and supports restaurants and the food scene?
Well, I think it's great because I think when you have successful restaurants that are kind of right next to each other, there is cross-pollination. So, you know, my clients might go up the street to another restaurant, you know, their clients might come down to me, you know, so we kind of work together as a community. And, you know, if you have 8 restaurants in a small little town, it's going to pull more people to come there versus if you just have one, you know, that's there. I think it really helps out. And it always has. It's always been, you know, really good up there as far as business. So.
Well, and you know, like I mentioned, you don't just have Heirloom, you also have Distilled on Jefferson, and it's moved around a little bit from its start. Can you talk about Distilled and how it came about and where it's at now?
So Distilled, we opened in 2014 at the Sire Hotel, which was Gratz Park at the time. And at the time, I thought going into a hotel, oh, this is like gangbusters. We're gonna kill it. We're in a hotel. We have a captive audience, you know, that's already here, you know, staying here. But what we didn't realize is when people stay at hotels, they go out of the hotel to eat. They want to take a walk, you know, with their wife or whatever and go away. So we kind of missed that boat. We don't have near the business, you know, or we did not have near the business that we have now there. So moving to Jefferson was just a solid move for us. We've probably quadrupled the amount of people we serve there, you know, just being on Jefferson. And Jefferson is another one of those little, you know, communities where there's a bunch of restaurants. They all do pretty well because of cross-pollination. So
I was gonna say, what is that kind of what drew you out to Jefferson, or was, you know, that just a spot that opened up and you liked it? How did you settle on Jefferson out there?
So we had been looking for, I mean, in all honesty, probably 3 years for a spot to move, and we were waiting for our lease to be up and all that good stuff. But we had found some spots, and looking back, they probably would not have worked because the parking was horrible. They were off the beaten path. The rent was too high, or whatever it was. But during the pandemic, Nick Ryan shut down, and I immediately got on the phone and I was like, "Hey, I want to come down and see the spot, right away." And there was no doubt in my mind that location would work for us. I knew it would work. So we signed the lease, and we closed Distilled at the old location and moved everything over, got everything done, and opened in less than 2 weeks.
Whew.
I mean, I got some gray hair from that one. That was a rough time. I mean, I don't think I had a day off in like 3 or 4 weeks with, starting the move and then ending and just being in the new spot. It was quite stressful. But yeah, looking back, I'm not sure how we did that really. That was quite a feat. But we had a lot of help from the staff, the cooks, the chefs. I mean, everybody kind of helped out. And I do want to say, I mean, I do lean a lot on my staff right now. It's not a one-man band, in my business. And, I've got some great talent, great chefs, great servers, great cooks, dishwashers, you name it. I mean, they all play a very big role in the success of those two restaurants. Seriously. So.
Well, and you mentioned it, being able to move Distilled and being able to launch a second restaurant, you have to have a good team behind you and good folks that you can leave and trust things to. When people get to visit Distilled, what can they expect, and how does it differ from Heirloom?
Well, I think it's maybe a little bit more casual. It's more of like a neighborhood feel. What else? I mean, the food is kind of similar. We kind of use a lot of the same products and so forth. We share a couple items there for each menu at Heirloom and Distilled. But I think the vibe's a little bit more casual is the main difference.
And then, the name Distilled, I'm guessing an ode to the world we live in Kentucky of bourbon and spirits.
Partly. And what I wanted to do is kind of take fine dining and distill all the ingredients out of it that make it snobby, that make it, uptight and so forth, and have a more casual atmosphere that still focuses, on quality of food, to have a fine dining experience, but to not feel like that you're uptight or, if that makes sense.
I like that a lot. And, as I mentioned, you've got the two restaurants. What's it like balancing those two, and them being sort of close? Because, Jefferson's at least on the side of town closer to Midway. So you're at least a little bit closer.
Yeah.
But what's it like balancing those and having that staff that's able to kind of help you out?
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. So, I'm constantly, if there's a problem at Heirloom, I'm out there. If there's a problem at, Distilled, I'm there. Splitting time has gotten easier over the years. Having a good team helps out. The pandemic has created some stresses on staffing, of course, so that's always kind of like an issue. But I mean, for the most part, I think we've been pretty lucky on filling staffing issues and so forth. But what I could say to answer the question is it's always something new every day. You don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know where you'll end up.
you really don't, or what will break, or, who knows? So it's very exciting.
I like that phrasing.
Yeah.
You did have another restaurant there for a good little while. I believe Mezzo and Midway.
That's yeah.
Why did you decide? I think you had it for about 6 years or so. What made you decide to maybe move on and focus on just the other two?
Hindsight, I just think that we probably didn't spend enough time and energy on Mezzo. Staffing was an issue there. There was a lot of overhead in that building. It was a hard nut to crack as far as profit wise. The space was just not efficient. It was hard to work with. The kitchen was not arranged correctly. And to fix that problem, we did not own the building, so it would have cost a lot of money to alleviate the kitchen problem as far as being efficient and so forth. And that's why, labor was always kind of high over there, labor percentage and so forth. So yeah, for those reasons, we just kind of thought, well, this would probably be a good time to call it, call it quits on this one and just focus on the other two.
And for those other two, what do you guys have anything fun up your sleeves the rest of the summer and the fall, or what can folks look forward to menu wise as seasons change and so forth?
Well, we always change the menu, with the seasons. So, whatever's in season right now is what you're going to see on the plate pretty much. So, we try to change the menu 4 to 6 times a year, based on product we can get. Tomatoes should be coming in soon. So, we'll have a gazpacho or like an heirloom tomato salad, something like that. So we always try to, stay current with what's available from farmers and so forth.
And then, as I mentioned, you own 2 restaurants, chef at both. You've had another. What's next for you? Just focusing on those 2 and hoping to grow those, or what do you got up your sleeves that you can tell me and not get yourself in trouble?
Well, to be totally honest, I don't have anything in the works at the moment. I think, the whole pandemic has kind of put brakes on myself as far as opening anything else. Staffing would be a huge hurdle to get over right now to open a brand new restaurant. I know there's a few people opening restaurants right now, and I'm kind of concerned. I just don't understand where they're going to get staff from, and that's keeping my thoughts at bay right now. But it keeps me busy with my kids' sports. That's what's going on right now. I tell people I don't even watch professional sports anymore. I watch my son play soccer or basketball, or my daughter play soccer, or I'm just really, really, I guess that's my other passion right now.
Hey, those are good passions, and
Oh yeah.
and what's it? I mean, I guess too, balancing that family life with the restaurant life, because the restaurant life is a lot of evening time and things like that. How does that balance go for you?
It's always a challenge, seriously. Where I'm in the restaurant business, I work at night, so don't get home till 9:30, which is not horrible in my industry. But I mean, for that reason, I've kind of made that the cutoff so that I can get home before they go to bed and so forth. When school starts, it's a little bit more difficult. We get up, get them out the door at like 6 a.m. So it's quite the grind when school's going on to get up at 6 a.m. after you work at night. So I mean, some days literally I'll just see them in the morning, for about 30 minutes, and I won't see them again because they'll be in bed when I get home. So that's tough. And my weekend's Sunday, Monday. So Sunday I get to see them, of course. And then Monday they're at school, so I'll get to see them that evening. But I mean, it is what it is. We make the best of it, and just how it is.
And do they love coming out and eating at Heirloom and Distilled?
Oh, yeah.
And
for sure, for sure. They always come in the kitchen, ask for cookies and ice cream and stuff like that. So
they're living the good life. And Mark, I appreciate you sharing a little bit about your journey and being able to talk about Heirloom and Distilled and some of the amazing things you're able to do.
Well, hey, thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.